everybody, my name is Hunter Reviews and welcome back to another movie review, and today we will be reviewing Hostiles, which is written and directed by Scott Cooper, and this stars Christian Bale as a army captain who has been asked and has agreed to take this chief, this Indian chief, and has agreed to escort him across the tribal land, but they run into some hard trouble and they start having some confrontations, natural disasters, and they start getting a little lost on their journey, and then they meet Rosamund Pike's character, whose family has basically been murdered. He's also surviving, and they basically team up together, and they escort this chief across the land. I like Scott Cooper. I think a lot of people should keep seeing his movies, because I think he's a director who's basically gone under the radar. A lot of people haven't been seeing Scott Cooper's movies, and I would really love it if more people did. A lot of mainstream audiences who will watch this movie will probably think that this is Scott Cooper's definitive movie, that this is the movie that he's been dying to tell, and really, this movie isn't. I just semi-enjoyed it. I think that this movie could have been a lot better. That being said, though, this movie is just okay. It was a movie that I didn't expect to be all that good. I wasn't really hyping this movie, but when I saw it, I was like, it was alright. I enjoyed the parts in which people and actors were acting in it, because this is a great character study, but at the same time, I love the characters. This movie has extraordinary characters that you basically get into. Christian Bale's character is basically the stern, tough, I have a rough past kind of character. It comes off as very stereotype, but at the same time, I got invested in his character. And Christian Bale is really freaking great in this movie. This is another great performance by Christian Bale. He pulls off the aggressive pettiness of this character. And you feel for him, because he goes through a lot in this movie, because he's basically, like, escorting this chief. And to top it all off, the chief's dying, so he has to, deal with other tribes. Like, he has to deal with tribes, other people who want this chief, and the daughter who the chief is with. He has to deal with that, and then he has to deal with Rosamund Pike's character, who's just coming along, like, towards the second act, and it all ties together, and he's going through so much, and I felt for him. I felt for Christian Bale. I like Wes Studi's character. Wes Studi is the best actor by far. He is the best actor in this movie. He is so freaking good in this movie. It was actually scary what he did with this character, because again, his character, much like Christian Bale's character, is going through so much, because again, he's dying, so really he doesn't have much to live for, so he's, like, just basically thinking to himself, like, what's the point? Why are you escorting me across my tribal land if I'm just gonna, like, die in your area? Like, if I'm just gonna die right in your village? And, you know, that dynamic is actually really interesting, and I like that more, and I wish they would have delved into that more, because the connection between Wes Studi's character and Christian Bale's character, I wish they would have explored it more. Because, and you know what, I think Rosamund Pike in this movie is fan-frickin-tastic. She is amazing, don't get me wrong, and her character is basically like every single other character in this movie. At the same time, though, I wish they would have left her character out. In fact, I wish they would have killed her off, because when she comes along, that's when the plot starts to, like, fall apart, when her character's introduced, because now we have these three subplots all happening together. We got the captain, this army captain, dealing with so much, and then we got Wes Studi's character, and we got Rosamund Pike's character now, and there's so much going on, and you really want to follow what's happening, but you just can't. And that's what really sucked about this movie, is that you have to follow these three plots, and really it doesn't tie together when you think about it. I think my only problems with this movie are with its narrative and its main theme, the theme that we don't live forever, work together, we could do so many great things. And it's basically not so much the themes of this movie, which were basically like childish grade 1 themes that you'd learn in like a grade 6 short story kind of theme, where like they give you like a topic and you gotta come up with a theme kind of thing. That's what this movie felt like. But on top of that, the narrative is so structureless. It felt like we were moving through the 3-act structure. It felt like Act 1 and only Act 2. And then all of a sudden, out of, like, maybe Scott Cooper pulled an Act 3 out of his ass, because this movie ends, like, so quickly. And I felt like this movie was rushed. I felt like this movie was, even though it was so long and the pacing is dreaded, it could have been maybe a little shorter. Again, because I really didn't feel like this movie had much impact. This movie's score is the worst score. It was trying to be like an Ennio Morricone score, where like it's trying to be fast paced, it's trying to be eerie, it's trying to go in different places, but it was so horrid. It was the worst soundtrack. It just didn't follow through on most of the things that it was like the tracks are just put in so many places where it shouldn't be, and that's what really frustrated me about this movie, was that the music was just so out of place. The direction by Scott Cooper is really freaking good. I loved it, in fact. The way that this movie is directed is pretty good. The action scenes are gritty. They're so Western-like, and I think Scott Cooper knew exactly what he was doing. Cause when people are riding on horseback, and people are like fighting, and like everything's just happening, like army soldiers are fighting Indians, and they're like shooting bows and arrows, and they're shooting guns. It was really intense, actually. I was like, there was a moment in the movie towards the second act where I was basically like holding onto my seat, and like I felt like I was glued to my chair, because everything was happening at once, and it was so crazy. It felt like I was in like watching a Western again, like where they would just ride on horseback and start shooting revolvers, bow and arrows flying everywhere. It was quite amazing. But what's also better than the direction is the amazing cinematography. I love it. In fact, it's probably so far the best of 2018. The cinematography looks seamless. It's amazing. And you really feel the landscape. When they're traveling through the landscape, it looks freaking great. It looks so amazing. Like, it actually feels like you're walking through this desert. Like you're walking through the sand, the dirt, and you feel everything around you. And then you see, like, everything. And then, like, you see sunsets, you see, again, storm clouds, and then you see, like, the whole sky. And at night, it looks beautiful. I mean, this movie was freaking amazing in terms of its cinematography. This movie looks like an on-set. Like, they actually shot this in a desert area. And they probably did. There are some scenes where you can tell they used a set, but it was really great on-set location. What I also hated about this movie was the marketing. I didn't like the marketing. When you see the trailer, it's very like tacky. It's very slapstick to me. And then when you see the poster, which flat out spells out everything for you. It spells out basically everything for you. On the poster, it literally says, "We are all hostiles." Christian Bale is hostile towards the Chief. Rosamund Pike is hostile towards the Chief and Christian Bale. And the Chief is hostile towards Christian Bale, Rosamund Pike. The tribal people are hostiles. Like, that's all you got. So in the end, this movie is an okay movie. I would watch this movie. Mainstream audiences are going to forget about this movie pretty quick. If you like westerns, like if you're into like modern day westerns, like a True Grit kind of movie or a 3:10 to Yuma kind of movie, I highly recommend it. If you're like a old style kind of western guy, like you like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, you're not going to enjoy this movie. It's a movie that gets a little boring. The pacing is awful. The theme and narrative isn't really good, but technically this movie is a fantastical experience. The acting and the characters are really good, and that's what I enjoyed about this movie. I'm going to give Hostiles a 69%. Alrighty, folks, that was my review for the movie Hostiles. I'm going to be pretty short on videos. On February 3rd, I'm going to put up my first classic rewind, but on February 1st, I'm going to be coming out with my review for The Fantastic Woman. On that day, I am going to go to a festival in Edmonton, where I live, where I will be actually watching that movie, and I can't wait to see it, and I'm really excited about that, so I'll try and have that review out pretty soon. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like. Comment down below any other movies that you would want me to review, and I'll see you guys later.